Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, and we are wrapping up this week looking ahead to the rest of 2024 and what games your boy wants to play. And I want to hear from you. What games do you want to play? Fire away down below. Yes, absolutely, I got this video idea from Jake Baldino. I'll have his linked down below if you want to check it out, so shout out to him. But let's start off with some undated ones before we get into the obvious ones that are already on the calendar. Xbox has a really great holiday lineup shaping up, provided it stays that way. So I do want to throw out there, of course, Avowed. Avowed is my most anticipated game now of 2024. It looks like Obsidian right in their comfort zone, hub-style worlds, choice and consequence, but with a little more gameplay freedom, a little more freedom of approach in how the levels are designed, which we really haven't seen from them. If there was any drawback I would bring up with something like the Outer Worlds, it was how combat encounters were kind of basic, simple, easy. So it looks like for their standards, they're elevating things a little bit here. I'm excited to see how the environmental interaction goes. But yeah, it's a very Matty-coded game. I don't know how long I gotta really park it on this one to explain why I'm so excited for it. So yeah, cannot wait for Avowed. Also can't wait for Indiana Jones. That one's coming out later this year. Apparently, the rumor has been that Avowed will be November and Indiana Jones will be December. If it sticks that way, Indiana Jones is going to be a fantastic way to round out the year, because I think maybe people forget how great Machine Games is. Like, most of their work on Wolfenstein, particularly the first two games, are fire. So to see a lot of that energy here in Indiana Jones with this mixture of first and third person gameplay, really good stuff. Cannot wait for it. Also can't wait for Our History Untold. This is through Xbox Game Publishing. It is a mixture of Total War and Civilization in this game that I always thought was very obvious for this genre to do, but now they're doing it here with Our History Untold, and it looks like a game that's going to be an absolute time sink, so I cannot wait to sink my teeth into this one. I got a little bit of a different one for you here. Batman Arkham Shadow. I know when we're talking about the continuation of the Arkham franchise, we all know what we want, which is something like Arkham Origins, or Arkham Knight, or Arkham City, or Arkham Asylum. I know the traditional console game is in demand, and I know there's still a stigma around VR, but really when I bought my MetaQuest 3, a lot of my feelings on this platform have changed with games like Assassin's Creed Nexus. There are other full-fledged RPGs on the platform, and it's unbelievable what they're doing with VR right now. So as someone who enjoyed a really simple PSVR Arkham game, to see this is going to be a full-fledged one on a platform where I really feel like they're getting into the swing of making VR really compelling, really competitive, I'm about it. So I'm excited to see gameplay for this. I believe we'll actually be seeing it soon in Gamescom. And so I have this one on my radar as, I think, a bit of a sleeper gem for those who maybe are open to VR. Another one that I think is kind of being overlooked is Fantasian. This is from the creator of Final Fantasy, Hironobu Sakaguchi. He also went on to make one of my favorite JRPGs ever with his own company, Mistwalker, in Lost Odyssey. He also made games like Blue Dragon, which is pretty good. He made phone games like Terra Battle, but Fantasian is one of the many Apple Arcade titles trapped there that is finally escaping the platform. TMNT Splintered Fate just released on Switch, and that was also originally an Apple Arcade title, and that may be my favorite ever Ninja Turtles game. So yeah, I'm very open-minded to any Apple Arcade game leaving that platform, coming to consoles, but especially when it's a Hironobu Sakaguchi JRPG. Are you kidding me? Like, he's made one of my favorites ever. Obviously love Final Fantasy, so I will be all over this whenever it comes out, and it's cool to see that he's united with Square Enix to get this done. I think there's a cool story in that. Dragon Age Veilguard, not dated yet somehow, but I think the game looks pretty great, not just with what I've seen with gameplay, but a lot of the things BioWare is saying about the game, like how they're handling romance, how they're handling choices, how they're handling reactivity. It seems like a lot of the things I wanted when it came to Dragon Age, so I'm staying open-minded about it. I'm not gonna act like the gameplay blew my socks off, but I really did enjoy a lot of what I saw there for level 1 gameplay, and I'm excited to see how the combat system evolves, especially since they're leaning more into Mass Effect, which is something I've been advocating for a while. So I know some people aren't crazy about it, but for me, it kind of checks the boxes I've been asking for. So yeah, it's in the more positive camp for me. There's also TMNT Mutant Mayhem, which I'm not going to trick myself into acting like this game's going to be incredible, but it does look kind of all right, which I was surprised by. I can't stand these designs of the turtles personally. I apologize if you find that very close-minded, but I'm more of like an IDW guy, 2003 Ninja Turtles guy. Like that's the type of designs I like, the more gritty ones, serious ones. I don't like these awkward teenage phase Ninja Turtles, but hey, I like TMNT so much, I'll give this one a try because the trailer, frankly, didn't look all that bad. We got more here that is not dated yet. In Epic Mickey Rebrushed, I actually thought I played Epic Mickey already, but I played like the Castle of Illusion 2D side-scroller one. So yeah, this will actually be pretty new for me. I'm excited to check it out, see what all the buzz is about. There's also Greedfall 2, which is releasing in early access this year. I'm really curious what they're doing with this game because it looks very different from the first one in that the first one was more of an action RPG. Second one's more like Dragon Age Origins. And I remember reading some of the comments on like IGN when the gameplay dropped, and people going, oh my god, it's not like Greedfall 1, I'm so disappointed. For me, I saw this and went, wait, hold up, someone's actually trying to make a competitor to Dragon Age Origins all these years later? I loved Greedfall 1, so give me Greedfall 2. Although I'm not much of an early access guy, you already know, like I even waited out Baldur's Gate 3, so I'm not going to be all over this, but I'll definitely do what I did with Baldur's Gate 3, dip my toe in the pool, and then wait for the full release. As someone who's been on a really big LEGO game kick, I kind of am interested in LEGO Horizon Adventures. It looks very different from the typical LEGO games we get. For better or for worse, I don't know yet, but I'm really keen to see what really made this game into a thing, right? Because when you're in like the boardroom or we're pitching ideas, if someone said LEGO Horizon, I'd be like, okay, funny one. Moving on. So somehow this got all the way. There was something in this game that they went, oh yeah, like we need to make this happen. So beyond just appealing to other audiences, I'm curious what is in this game that separates it from other LEGO titles. One thing we did see visually is that everything, like including the water, is all Legos. So visually it'll be a little bit different, but gameplay wise, I'm curious what they're doing here and what else it leads to, because look, as someone who loves the LEGO games, I would love to see a little bit more gaming franchises getting involved with it, like LEGO Fallout. It'd be kind of cool. Last undated game here. I don't know where this one went, but it's starting to spook me out a little bit still. As someone who's not played these very, very popular JRPGs, I want the Suikoden remaster. What's going on here, Konami? Come on, deliver the goods. Although, if it's kind of broken and buggy, maybe not. But this was supposed to come out, the rumor was, I think, September of last year. And so, yeah, here we are now nearing the end of 2024, and still no date for these. So I don't know if it's even going to come out this year, but Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes was pretty good. That kind of scratched the Suikoden itch, so I'm feeling a little more patient, but definitely still want to get my hands on this one. So all those games I just listed are undated. Let's go in order now of the things that are dated that I do want to play. First up, end of next month, Star Wars Outlaws. Look, man, I'm sorry. I get it. Y'all don't like Ubisoft. Y'all don't like open world games. People hate Star Wars now. I personally think this game looks really good. I'm hearing really good things about the gameplay experience. I love how they're basing upgrades not in a skill tree, but in like working with legends in the Star Wars universe and getting upgrades from them. Like that stuff to me is really cool. I believe in Massive as a Ubisoft team compared to any other team under that brand. Like I'd get it if this was like, you know, some random Ubisoft studio that did like a spin-off Assassin's Creed game, but this team delivered the Division 1 and 2, and I think they're some of the more forward-thinking developers within the Ubisoft family. So I like what they did with those games a lot, and I'm excited for them to tackle one of my favorite franchises ever in a way I've never experienced it before, which is open-world Star Wars. So I have a lot of high hopes for this one. For me, it's really just a matter of like, is it polished? Which IGN just dropped some new gameplay of it, and there were some aspects of it that didn't look the best. I think because the marketing's ramping up, nothing's going to change here. This game's going to come out. So hopefully it comes out polished and that these were just some rough scenes, but didn't really build a lot of confidence on the polish front. We'll see, but still really excited for little open world Star Wars action. Shortly thereafter, September 6th, you have Astrobot. And yeah, I am all about this game just by principle alone. Keeping in mind that I think it looks absolutely sick, but I love that we see a game like Astrobot coming from PlayStation, right? I've always advocated for, you know, the E for Everyone titles, the 3D platformers, especially on the PlayStation side of things, because that's what I grew up with. And I think those games are super important to get you involved as a generational fan. Just like I'm a generational fan of Xbox because of games like Oddworld Munch's Odyssey, which then brought me to games like Halo. I think getting fans in younger, like, hey, Sly Cooper, hey, Ratchet and Clank, hey, Jack and Daxter, and then you carry on with them into the PS3 generation with games like Resistance, games like Infamous, and so on and so forth. Like, that's how I think you create generational fans. And also, for the older fans who remember these great days, games like Astrobot can appeal to us too. So I like to see PlayStation dipping their toe in the pool with games like Lego Horizon, games like Astrobot, and especially because Astrobot was this free packaged in game and it had a ton of Easter eggs, and I hope they just continue to lean into that. But the game looks positively massive compared to the little packaged in game we got. So I'm really happy they're giving this one a shot. I hope it does well because I want it to spur on more 3D platformers. There's Frostpunk 2 coming out at the end of September, September 20th, and I think this is another game that I just need to see how much it can get its hooks into me. Hopefully it doesn't come out too close to Our History Untold, but this is a game that has a lot of choices, and none of those choices are ever good. I've heard amazing things about Frostpunk 1, and so when it was on sale for like $3 at the Steam sale, I held off because I thought, you know what, Frostpunk 2, right around the corner. This is also going to be day one in Game Pass, so why not just wait it out, right? There's no need to rush. And so I'm very excited to get my hands on this one because I love how gritty and hopeless this universe is. It reminds me a bit of a game that is also from 11-Bit Studios, which is the publishers of this game, called This War of Mine. So they just have a feel for these very tough, gritty kind of worlds where there's no singular good choice ever to be made. Just a week later, September 27th, Reynatis. I am not going to sit here and pretend that this game looks awesome. It's really just morbid curiosity. Like, I personally really like games like The World Ends With You. That's somehow tying into this game. The developer of this game is like a huge fan of Nomura and the games he's made, and The World Ends With You, and so he's kind of trying to make their own game, and Square Enix is supporting this. NIS America is supporting this. It looks really low budget, but then it's also got kind of Kingdom Hearts style combat. The reason this is interesting is because I've always said, and you can watch it in Retro Rebound videos, the thing that's special about Kingdom Hearts is because the IP that's surrounded it is so unique, is that no one tries to do what Kingdom Hearts does, because you really can't, right? Like, you need to borrow those IPs. So to see Square Enix kind of teaming up and leaning into Reynatis a little bit was surprising, was very interesting. So while the game doesn't look top-notch quality, I am very curious about it. I do like these kind of 7 out of 10 PS2 style games. So if it falls into that kind of comfort zone for me, I'll be pretty about it. So we'll see how it shapes up, and that's coming out at the end of September. Afterwards, we get a game I know I'm going to be all over, and unfortunately shares the day with another one I'm going to be all over in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, October 11th. It shares the date with Metaphor ReFantazio, October 11th. So let's talk about both of them here. Oh my gosh. All right, Sparking Zero looks really, really good. Like, as someone who grew up with Budokai Tenkaichi 2 being my favorite in the series, I am so excited for a game that's finally leaning into the Dragon Ball Super content. Like, as someone who really enjoyed a game such as Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, cool. And it got a deeper, better animated look at the Dragon Ball Z storyline, but also, like, growing up with DBZ, I've experienced this storyline a billion times before. Dragon Ball Super, like, I've watched the show once and I've re-experienced pockets of it through games, but not nearly as much as DBZ. And I think Super has a lot of really good moments. Like, the Goku Black arc speaks for itself. I think the Universe Survival arc is also really good. So to see them finally leading into the characters and into the content there is just so exciting to me. So I can't wait to play as all the various characters I love from Super, and I'm going to be all over this one. But Metaphor is going to be competing for my attention. Like, if you ask me right now, and I know it's a little bit unfair because we don't know what Persona 6 looks like, but Maddie, are you more excited for Metaphor or Persona 6? It's Metaphor, because Metaphor is the Persona team, and it has a lot of really new ideas, like the way they're balancing the time of day and how you travel and how activities are handled across multiple hubs. It's very different from the typical Persona experience while keeping a lot of DNA from it. So I just cannot wait to see how they've evolved the social life elements of it, but I also can't wait to see the gameplay, because they're borrowing from one of my favorite ever JRPG series in Trails, where there's this hybrid between action combat and turn-based combat. Obviously, we know Atlas is a turn-based GOAT, but they also have the presentation, the style. Like, this game looks like an easy 10 out of 10. I'm not even kidding. As long as the story delivers, which Atlas always does, like, this game looks incredible. So I cannot wait to get my hands on it. But October 11th is going to be a very scary day for me to try and balance these two, because I will get choice paralysis, and I don't know which one I'm going to pick that day. And not long after, I'll have to shelve these games potentially, because another game that's very Matty coded is coming out. Sonic X Shadow Generations. Sonic Generations, before I was even a Sonic fan, was my favorite ever Sonic game. Like, it is so much fun. I love how, especially as a Sonic fan now, it leans into all of the levels that I've now learned to love. I've learned to enjoy. I've indulged in these stories. I've learned about these characters. And now you're including my favorite character in the Sonic franchise in Shadow, who has like the best story thanks to Sonic Adventure 2. And now you're bringing in new levels, new story content. There's a rumored 4th character here. Just like, this game looks so good. I already know Sonic Generations is incredible, but now we're bringing Shadow into the mix to kind of market things properly for Sonic the Hedgehog 3 coming out later this year. So very, very pumped for this one. And then that same day, Ys 10 Nordiques. So I was just talking about Trails. The developer of that game is Nihon Falcom. And yeah, they run not only a turn-based series, but an action RPG series. And I don't know how they do it, especially when these games look so good. But Ys 10 looks like JRPG, Assassin's Creed, Black Flag with action combat that's all crazy and all over the place. They don't go for like a big party like typical JRPGs do. This is just like 2 members of your party, so the combat's going to feel a little bit different. What's interesting about Ys is that like you don't have to play all the previous games to understand it. So I'm really excited to dive in and really start my Ys journey here and then work things backwards. I've heard really good things about Ys 8. A couple days later, you get Life is Strange Double Exposure, October 29th. This one, I gotta say, I'm not a Life is Strange guy anymore, but I loved the first one. And since we got Max back as the protagonist, yeah, I'll give this one a shot for sure. So we'll see how things go. But I'm not expecting this to be a radical shakeup of what you get from a Life is Strange game. I just hope the story is as great as the first Life is Strange game. Because I remember that was when I was into kind of the walking sim narrative style games. And then I fell off of them. I haven't really come back. So Max Caulfield, save me, please. Last game on this list, November 15th, Assassin's Creed Shadows. I absolutely love what I'm seeing with this game. Sure, as a Ghost of Tsushima fan, I don't know if it's going to surpass that one. But when you look at the kind of action combat, the dismemberment, the Sin City effects when you're like taking out the final enemy, execution style, the open world, the focus on stealth gameplay, I'm hearing and seeing a lot of great things about Assassin's Creed Shadows. So I cannot wait to get my hands on this one. After I did my big Assassin's Creed retrospective last year for Retro Rebound before Assassin's Creed Mirage launched, I really rediscovered my love for some of the Assassin's Creed games. Of course, the Ezio trilogy speaks for itself, but I loved Unity, still love Unity. Replayed Syndicate, think that game has aged beautifully. Really like that game. And so it's been fun to rediscover that, oh yeah, this is a series I really cherish, and I loved some of the stealth elements, particularly in Unity, and to see them finally bring them back here for Shadows, I'm curious to see what else they do with these systems. So these are all the games I want to play in the second half of 2024. I think they look spectacular to morbid curiosity. There's a whole range there, but I'm excited to hear from you what games you're most excited to play this year. So fire away down below. With that, take excellent care of yourselves. Have a great weekend. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.